Okay, once again, this is Brother Johnny of Group 19 Promotions out of Manning, South Carolina. Sincerely thanking everyone for tuning in at this late hour. I had to go live on the air. I'm not talking too loud. I got air conditioners blowing because I got hot. Just the overflow of emotion that came over me, thinking and receiving what I was receiving, and not waiting to get this out there. It has to be put out there right now. And I'm not talking directly to any particular person. So if you take it personal, take it personal. It's okay. You know, it is what it is. But it has to be said. No one is saying it, and no one is saying it in this way because it is being given to me by Almighty God, Allah. Again, there is only one God. He has many names. He is the Prince of Peace. He is El Shaddai. He is Elohim. He is called Jesus Christ. He is called the Comforter. He is called the Redeemer. All the same person. I choose to call him Allah, as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because Allah encompasses all of the names. All of the names of God is in all Allah. So when I say Allah, it's not some spook. It's not some foreign language. It is the original tongue of the original man. So, but I had to get into this subject right now because it has to be said. It has to be said to the adults, and it has to be said to the adults for the children, and it has to be said for the children. This won't take long. But I was reading on yesterday the Notorious B.I.G.'s son. Now, I don't know how factual this is. This may just be rumor, because one thing I know about Facebook is that they are now making these blogs that are lying. The blogs are just telling lies about situations, and they're posting it up on Facebook, and people are reposting it thinking that it is the truth. But the Notorious B.I.G.'s son allegedly, well, I know for a fact that he graduated high school, but now he allegedly is coming out, quote unquote, of the closet, saying that he is a homosexual. And today I posted it up, and I read, and when I was reading it, just seeing our young females begin to act like males, and seeing our young males begin to act like females. You have families here in South Carolina who have children like that. They are dressing, women are dressing like men are dressing like women. And then I got a email, and it was just telling me about this new song by Nicki Minaj entitled Pills and Potions. Now, it was just a few second clip. I think it has the game in it, the rapper, but she's supposedly topless and she's supposedly rapping. I heard the song. The beat is excellent. The words flow really well. But the title of the song, Pills and Potions, and in the song she is talking about forgiving a little people who, you know, liked her at one moment, then didn't like her, but now that she's on top, they like her again. But the title of the song has nothing to do with the lyrics of the song. And then for the advertisement of the song, Nicki has on rabbit ears. And if any of you remember the Playboy days, the Playboy bunny was a rabbit, and it is representative of sex. Now, the video has nothing to do with love. It has nothing to do with relationships, but it has everything to do with sex and drugs. The rabbit, as I said, the material things, and because she's reportedly bearing her breast in the video, it is also selling sex. And when I hit on the video and went onto YouTube, it has already gotten 5 million hits. And the title of it is Pills and Potions. And if you know anything about these Skittle parties that the children are having, they're bringing all of these Xanax, all of the antidepressant pills. They just mix them in a bowl. You just get a few of them, pop them in your mouth, and you get high off of it. Now, the potions are whatever you can mix up to make a concoction that will get you high or get you amped up, whatever way you want to do it. Lil Wayne calls it syrup, where they mix, liquor and cough syrup, codeine. The point I want to get to is that R. Kelly's daughter is supposedly again posted up on Facebook, and if it is true, it is true, but it's common day stuff. If it is not true, it's still true, because it's happening among our children right now today. But R. Kelly's daughter is now, instead of being called, his daughter, she is taking on the gender role of a male. What is happening to our children? This is where I'm going with it. Our children start smoking weed and experimenting with drugs as early as 9 years old. Now, we as parents don't see anything but our loving children, but our children are beginning to uh, become addicted. They're not beginning to become addicted. They are addicted to drugs at an early age. And that addiction is causing a effect on their mind. And that addiction is not, the effect on the mind is not just the effect of what they're doing, but it's the effects of what we were doing prior to them being brought into the world. Now, how does marijuana affect the brain? I want to get this very clear, because I know people love smoking weed. And I know the argument will always be weed never did nothing to nobody. And I know the great Bob Marley smoked it. I know, Peter Tosh and King Yellowman, all of these people smoke marijuana. But if you know anything about homegrown marijuana is grown, you grow it, just like growing, having a garden in your yard. You know what chemicals you put in it. You know how you manufactured it. So you have homegrown marijuana that is designed to get you high or whatever you're looking for. It's still wrong. But today there is a new thing on the market. There is a genetically modified marijuana that is on the market. And this genetically modified marijuana is genetically modifying the DNA of the parents who smoke it. It is damaging the brains of the children who are affected by what the parents are doing. And it is causing the children to be mentally, psychologically confused. Now, how does marijuana affect the brain? I'm not going to argue with you about whether it's safe or not safe. That's irrelevant. What I'm telling you is this stuff is being made, manufactured in laboratories. And what I'm telling you is that God has put on my heart and the words on my tongue to explain what is happening to our children. I'll say this again. We are always asking what's happening, but when someone gives the answer, we never want to listen to it, because we want a simple answer, when in actuality, it didn't take a simple process to get the children in the position that they're in. Now, when marijuana is smoked, THC rapidly passes from the lungs into the bloodstream, which carries the chemical to the brain and other organs throughout the body. It is absorbed more slowly when ingested in food or drink. That is, the stuff they're promoting now, hemp and all that kind of stuff. They got the cupcakes and all this stuff you could just put marijuana in. However it is ingested, THC acts on specific molecular targets on brain cells called cannabinoid receptors. Now, we smoke in cannabis, and in the brain there are cannabinoid receptors. These receptors are ordinarily activated by chemicals similar to THC that naturally occur in the body. So whoever is modifying the marijuana, whoever is modifying the drugs, are modifying it so that it is compatible to the natural chemical release of the brain. And because the brain does not know how to decipher between the modified chemicals and what is coming naturally from the brain, brain alterations are taking place, genetic mutations are taking place, DNA is being re-altered in the mind, and it is causing the psychological, mental, physical, emotional destruction of our children. But it starts in the minds of the parents. We are to blame for what has happened to our children. Don't ask why it's happening. Ask, how can we fix it? And when you ask the question, be prepared to listen for the answer. This is coming directly from the Lord of the world. He is tired of us using the excuse of not knowing what the problem is when technology has given us the ability to search for anything we want to on this internet. Before it is so regulated, we won't be able to do anything on it but what we are able to do by the new laws that are set in place. However, it is ingested. THC acts on specific molecules and targets on the brain that naturally occur in the body, such as anonymide, and are part of a neural communication network called the endocannabinoid system. This system plays an important role in normal development and functions. Again, the cannabinoid system plays an important role in normal brain development and function. So when this system is overloaded, you already have a cannabinoid system, but you are introducing cannabis into that system, which is already designed by God to release this sort of endorphin to keep the mind relaxed and high. Now we are intensifying that by adding more chemicals to it. What is happening to us and why? The highest density of cannabinoid receptors is found in parts of the brain that influence pleasure, memory, thinking, concentration, sensory and time perception, and coordinated movement. I'm going to say that again. The highest density of cannabinoid receptors is found in parts of the brain that influence pleasure, memory, thinking, concentration, sensory and time perception, and coordinated movement. Marijuana overactivates the endocannabinoid system. Again, marijuana overactivates the endocannabinoid system, causing the high and other effects that users experience. These effects include altered perceptions and mood-impaired coordination, difficulty with thinking and problem solving, and disrupted learning and memory. Now, our children are taking in this drug as early as 9 years old and becoming addicted to this drug, where they have to have it in their bodies when they wake up, in their bodies when they go to sleep, in their bodies if they wake up during the morning, and someone is in the laboratory experimenting with this drug, and someone is in the laboratory designing a drug specifically to cause gender alteration, if that is a word, gender alterations. You are male, but now you're thinking as a female. You are a female, but now the tendencies in you to be a male wants to show forth. Marijuana also affects brain development, and when it is used heavily by young people, its effects on thinking and memory may last a long time or even be permanent. A recent study of marijuana users who began using in adolescence revealed substantially reduced connectivity among brain areas responsible for learning and memory. Why are our children behaving so foolishly? Why are our children not feeling the emotions that are natural to a person? Because it is being disconnected. Because the parents smoke the marijuana, the parents drink the liquor, the parents look for the high to get over through the day, and that has been spilled over into our children. Listen, I take pain medication for my back. It's irreparable. It can't be repaired. It's like 24-hour a day pain. I am supposed to take those pain pills 3 times a day in order to try to take the pain away. The drug is so strong that it modifies my thinking and it makes me literally lethargic. So I don't take it. I take it at night. That is the only time I take it. I have been prescribed steroid shots for my back. If any of you have taken steroids, you know that it just blows you up. I don't want to take the steroid shots for fear of what else it's going to do in modifying my thinking. So I'm dealing with this 24-hour a day pain, but I would rather deal with it than to have to deal with my mind turning on me. But our children are not in a position mentally to make a thought like that. They just want to escape the pain. Likewise with the parents who want to escape the pain, and they take whatever is available to take in order to alter the thinking. But what is it doing long term? And what is it doing to the next generation of black boys, black girls who are just straight up whores, straight up pimps, straight up zombies in a sense, who care about nothing but making a dollar bill? And I don't want you to take your mind off of the just on the street people. Don't put it on them. I'm talking about college students. I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about professors. I'm talking about doctors and lawyers who are getting high all day, every day. And this drug is altering the mind, the brain area responsible for learning and memory. And a large long-term study in New Zealand showed that people who began smoking marijuana heavily in their teens lost an average of 8 points in IQ between ages 13 and ages 38. Importantly, the lost cognitive abilities were not fully restored in those who quit smoking marijuana as adults. Once you lose that cognitive ability, you're not going to get it back in most cases. Those who started smoking marijuana in adulthood did not show significant decline. Now, our children are smoking marijuana starting at the age where the brain is still developing. And I have been in a room where people were smoking marijuana with arm babies, babies that you hold in your arm. They were smoking marijuana in their presence. These babies will likely become drug addicted babies because they are in the care of drug addicts. Marijuana also raises heart rate by 20 to 100% shortly after smoking. This effect can last up to 3 hours. In one study, it was estimated that marijuana users have a 4.8-fold increase in the risk of heart attacks in the first hour after smoking the drug. This risk may be greater in older individuals or in those with cardiac vulnerabilities. So older people who suffer from high blood pressure, who suffer from heart problems, marijuana is affecting you as well. And not only that, when you smoke a cigarette bad enough, it has a filter on the end that catches some of the toxins that are coming into the body. But now with this genetically modified marijuana, and you're smoking it down to the fire, lips all burn up, smoking it down to the fire, and all of that fire is getting into your lungs. A number of studies have linked chronic marijuana use and mental illness. A number of studies have linked chronic marijuana use and mental illness. High doses of marijuana can produce a temporary psychotic reaction involving hallucinations and paranoia. In some users, using marijuana can worsen the course of illness in patients with schizophrenia. A series of large studies following users across time also showed a link between marijuana users and later development of psychosis. So those who are constantly modifying their thinking, what you're seeing before us in the hip hop arena, in the television arena, are people whose minds have been modified. But on a more personal level, we are talking about our children that we have turned a blind eye to because we're so busy trying to get rich. We have really dropped the ball. We have let a generation of our children down, and those generations are now angry and frustrated, and they are rebelling on the parents, and the parents are becoming 100% bona fide enemies to the children. So in a upcoming report, by God's permission, we will be talking about generation rage, why our children are having this mental psychotic break. They are time bomb ticking, and just today there was a mass shooting in, I think it's Sacramento, I'm not sure, at a college or at a school, but again, another killing because the children are snapping, and they're after the adults, and they're after those who make fun of them. But they're not just being motivated by their emotions in a natural sense. There is a chemical imbalance that is causing their emotions to fluctuate or to become so lethargic in a sense that they don't think at all. We are talking about weed, marijuana, and genetically modified marijuana in particular. And when something is genetically modified in a laboratory, it is tested and tested again for the maximum effect on how it will either help or how it will harm, how it will control, how it can destroy. This relationship was influenced by genetic variables as well as the amount of drugs used, drug potency, and the age at which it was first taken. Those who start young are at increased risk for later problems. Again, our children are seeking a way out of their mind, so they are constantly drinking, smoking, having sex, whatever it takes to get away from everyday life, because what we have told them will make them successful is not making them as successful as we told them. In fact, it is putting them in an inordinate amount of debt. So you have things, but you owe everybody. Associations have also been found between marijuana use and other mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts among adolescents, and personality disturbances, including a lack of motivation to engage in typically rewarding activities. Now, our children have no desire to do anything but play games, fantasize, live vicariously through ball players, and the adults are the same. If it wasn't for the fact that we had to work to survive, most of us would sit on our behind all day long and do nothing but eat, have sex, and sleep. Thank God for the job, because other than that, we wouldn't be doing anything else. And this is affecting our children because they're seeing it, they know it's happening, and it is a problem. It is such a big problem that it is almost impossible to express how deep of a problem it is, because it is now going down into the spiritual level where God is trying to touch the heart of the individual, but he can't do that because we are in such a delusional state of thinking. We are thinking that we are being spoken to by God and we can touch people and heal them with our hands when we can't even have a clear conversation with ourselves and with our children. Now, we're talking about the effects of this genetically modified marijuana, its depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts among adolescents, and personality disturbances, including a lack of motivation to engage in typical rewarding activities. More research is still needed to confirm and better understand these linkages. So they are researching what medications do what to whom and in what way. Marijuana use during pregnancy is associated with increased risk of neutral behavioral problems in babies, because THC and other compounds in marijuana mimic the body's own endocannabinoid chemicals. Marijuana used by pregnant mothers may alter the development of the endocannabinoid system in the brain of the fetus. Consequences for the child may include problems with attention, memory, and problem solving. So because the child's brain is developing and trying to develop its own endocannabinoid chemicals, and mama is busy smoking marijuana with such a strong chemical compound that it is halting the natural process of the baby in the womb to develop its own cannabinoid chemicals to help it balance out its emotions. The mom and the dad have interrupted that with their constant marijuana smoking and are causing birth defects, mental defects, motor skill defects among their children. They are not able to register the fact that they're supposed to hold their head up. They're supposed to walk. Their eyes are just twirling in their head because they have no motor skill coordination. Additionally, because it seriously impairs judgment and motor coordination, marijuana contributes to risk of injury or death while driving in a car, of course. A recent analysis of data from several studies found that marijuana use more than doubles drivers' risk of being in an accident. The combination of marijuana and alcohol is worse than either substance alone with respect to driving impairment. And of course, our children are doing both drugs and alcohol. Now, here is my warning to all who would listen And I pray sincerely that you would share this information as well. We are in a crisis. Black people in particular, white people too. It affects every race, every gender. But these genetically modified chemicals in the marijuana are modifying the mindset of our children, because most of us don't even realize that marijuana has a male and a female plant. And in that male and female plant, if the if the female person is smoking the male version of the marijuana, then their food intake will change, their energy and homeostasis will change, their sexual behavior will change. Now, if it is a male smoking it, his sexual behavior begins to decrease. What does that mean? He no longer wants to get excited, and we're going to be raw with it at this point. He no longer wants to get excited. He is unable to get an erection. So he's just there, but he is sexually aroused. So what do you think this male is going to do because he can't get an erection? Instead of being the giver or the projector, now he wants to be the receiver. So now he's bending over and asking some other man to enter him because he can't get an erection. On the flip side of that, the woman gets a sexual, hypersexual. Now she is so hypersexual that she is behaving like the man behaves. So here she is not wanting to receive, but wanting to give. So now that is a mental, psychological modification of the mindset. And I know that many of us say, well, my cousin, my sister, my brother, my mother had cancer. They smoked marijuana. Cancer is a modification of the cells in the body. If it has already been modified and you're smoking marijuana and it has a modification effect on the body as well, there is a possibility that the marijuana may modify the mind to want to eat more, because most cancer patients, especially throat cancer and lung cancer, don't have an appetite. And smoking marijuana may very well help them to live years and years longer by increasing their appetite and desire to eat. Likewise, with the problem that Montel Williams has, the Montel Williams show. There is already a genetic dysfunction in the body. Now you introduce marijuana, which may balance out that dysfunction, because in the middle of the male marijuana and the female marijuana is a gray line, as you can see, and it highlights some points where these different marijuanas may affect the person. Stress, impulsivity, hypothermia, cognition, learning, addiction, reward, and memory. So there is a gray line where marijuana may help, but we are talking about our children. We're talking about the age in which they begin to put this poison into their body. We're talking about the genetic modification of these chemicals in the body. And if you don't know anything about Monsanto's or GMOs, you need to look it up, because the marijuana itself is being laced with different chemicals: aspartame, Agent Orange, POBs, Roundup, pesticides, herbicides. All of these things are being put into the marijuana, smoked into the lungs, into the brain, and we are being embalmed alive, walking zombies. You're getting a formaldehyde in your body. When I was diddy bopping in the street, the big thing was to dip your marijuana joint in formaldehyde. So if you knew a mortician, you would want, get a little, you dip your marijuana in the formaldehyde and get you a real, hollapaloo type of high from it. This is what is happening to our children. And this is what has disturbed my spirit and got me up at 12 o'clock to put this out there. And all I can do is put it out there. And again, I just want to say that if you don't like the messenger, I pray that you will listen to the message and share it. Again, we were talking about genetically modified marijuana. You can look up this information for yourselves. I had several different um, um, kinds of marijuana. All of them are genetically modified. And I put those up for you to see. And again, I thank you for listening to this. It just all of a sudden I knew I had to do it. So I pray that my efforts in doing it again, that God will not bless me so much, but bless the effort, whereas the message will be heard and will be relayed to others, because everyone, this is nothing new, but we are in such a position now with our jobs, with our political positions, with our desires and ambitions, that we don't want to say or do anything that would make the people not want to be on our side. So a lot of the things that God disapproves of, man is keeping his mouth shut about, because he is either too afraid, too weak, too ignorant, or something that causes him to not want to speak out against things, or he is a willing participant in it, so he don't want to speak out about it because that will bring his dirt to the light. Somebody's got to take the risk. And I said to God 20 years ago, to Almighty God Allah, my life is not worth anything anyway. Use me, and when it's time to go, God willing, you'll be satisfied with what I've done. So this is Brother Johnny of Group 19 Promotions, once again thanking everyone for tuning in to the 19 Report.